uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Focus on Liberia. This is Between the Headlines. My name is Dennis Jah, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of this special edition, we're going to be looking at President Weah's speech at the Dominion Church, that's the Dominion Christian Fellowship in Senko, Liberia. President Weah, after 49 days abroad, returned to Liberia today, and he delivered a speech at the church. In that speech, President Weah laid out a lot of things. We're going to be talking about that. Joining me to talk about the president's speech, that is analysis of President Weah's speech today, I have from G-Talk, Madam Glendy Junior. Glendy, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis. It's good to be here.
I also want to welcome Dr. Saki Golafale. He's been the host of Chemistry and Society on Focus on Liberia. That show is on a little hiatus. Dr. Golafale, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Jah. It's a blessing to be here with all of you.
I also want to welcome Mr. Michael Patmo, a member of the ANC. Mr. Patmo was here yesterday defending the rally, because we were doing an analysis on the rally. So today he was the first to arrive for us to do the analysis of President Weah's speech. Mr. Patmo, and by the way, he's also a co-host on Point right here on Focus on Liberia. Mr. Patmo, welcome.
Thank you so much, Dennis. Good to be here.
I want to welcome Mr. Mansfield Dwopu. He's FOL Global Affairs Analyst. Mr. Dwopu, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
I don't know how it happened, but I got two ANC here. I want to welcome former Chief of Office Staff of Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummins. That's a member of the ANC, Mr. Isaac Vatukba. Isaac, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Last and definitely not the least is an unabashed and unapologetic sedition. He is Mr. Jerome Gilman. He is the host of On Point right here on Focus on Liberia. Mr. Gilman, welcome to the show. Unmute yourself, please.
Thank you for inviting me. As you can see, I'm so relaxed. I got my red, white, and blue to welcome my president back to the Republic. Nice being here.
Thank you. We want to welcome all our folks from across the globe. This is Focus on Liberia. We are doing an analysis of President Weah's speech. At the beginning of the show, I play you a portion where the president started by laying out that, hey, I was away, but when I was away, the country was running, it was functional, because I was firing, I was hiring, and doing all the things the president's supposed to do. That was part one. So just for those who did not watch the speech, we want to give you that little synopsis. The second part of the president's speech, he talked about the goodies that he brought back. He said this trip was free. I did some of it, I didn't pay for it, and here are the benefits that we got from the trip. Take a listen.
On the sidelines of the forum in Tangier, we met with senior government officials of Hungary and received a commitment from the Hungarian government of $50 million United States.
That was the president naming some of the benefits that are accrued from the trip. The president also went on to, at some point, he went off script, and you can tell.
I want you all to know that we are on record. After our civil war, we are on record to promote democracy, freedom of speech, and human rights. So we must continue that path. The world knows that we are a peaceful place. So let us now allow, as my full professor was said, don't mind them. Don't mind them because they are all people.
That's right. That's
So
right.
that was some. I mean, last but not the least, the president also talked about the game of sports, and he talked about God's plan. Take a listen. So if you are among those talking blah 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 blah, president is talking to you, gentlemen and ladies. Welcome. We're about to go into the president's speech. Let's go around the room and let me hear you. What's your initial reaction to the president's speech? Let me start with Dr. Golafale.
Yeah, Mr. Jai, thank you very much. And I'd like to, it's an honor to be part of this platform with all of these great people to discuss issues related to Liberia. And all of us know that Liberia is at a crossroad at the moment. And considering what happened in the last nearly 2 months with the president's absence from the country, it to me it's a bad reflection on the leadership of the country. And he coming back to say those things he said, I think it was only in defense of the negatives. He been absent, and if a president say that the country was running, his office was running, that I think is a lie. One fact to that is, if the country was running, if his office was running, we would have had a successful census. And census being one of the most important tool to our national development, and you have a president leaving the country without any sound leadership and without any care about the country and its future. He only thinks that census is about elections. No, there are more to census, Mr. President, and your failure to have census and the fact that you have people who are incompetent, corrupt, heading the census, it's an indictment on him. And for he saying that the country was running, that's a big lie. And also the fact that he failed to acknowledge that his absence brought a lot of issues in the country. I listened to part of the speech when he talked about uh, the people are rioting, people trying to riot. And if you talk about promoting democracy and people's right, I don't think you should frown on who is in the riot, who is organizing the riot. I think that's counterproductive. But all in all, I think the president has nothing to offer. He is flat. When it comes to sports, I don't think he should have waited for the World Cup to show that Liberia, his government is ready for sports. The budget in sports is reduced. He reduced the budget for sports, particularly football. Football that made him to become who he is today. Go and look at the national budget. You will cry for football in Liberia. And when George Weah took over, he took a country where Liberia was at 138 FIFA ranking. Today, Liberia is hanging around 150, approaching 160 ranking. That's a bad reflection on a soccer or football icon. I think he's a failure, and we've seen it on and on. The president has nothing to offer. He doesn't articulate his vision well. He's just running all around the place, trying to, in a survival mode. And elections are coming. We're looking forward to that. And I think this conversation we can discuss other issues more. I have a lot of other issues to discuss, but his speech was nothing but empty promises that were made. The issue of the U.S. commitment to Liberia, it wasn't something new. The U.S. committed to a lot of countries, 6 countries that having elections next week. He boasts of it. That is a game. It's not a game. It's already in the pipeline for the U.S. Commitment to promoting democracy in Africa. We'll talk about that more, but let me give the others the chance to say what they have.
Mr. Padmo, what's your initial reaction to the president's speech?
All right, thank you so much, Dennis. First of all, as a health professional, I would like to inform the president the memory power they bring is not in medulla oblongata, okay? So you don't pour anything inside it. But I feel like the president were really expecting after 49 days for the president to offload everything that he had brought for the Liberian people. And we didn't hear anything, really. He didn't bring anything. We didn't really hear anything. A few promises here and there. Besides that, it was just a speech full of gossip. It tells me that the president listens to gossip and not take action on it, or he just doesn't want to. But that's what I got out of it initially of the speech.
Thank you. Let's go to the only lady on the panel, Glendy.
Hi, Dennis. I don't even know how to describe the speech, because the first thing that surfaced was the fact that he was dishonest not only to Liberians but to the world. When you say you're leaving Liberia to go and represent Liberians, and then you go for over 6 weeks, and then you come back and you bring nothing but promises, commitments that they gave you. And then also when you come back, it's almost like he couldn't wait to come. I don't understand why the president only uses the church to empty all his issues that he has with people. So I really didn't see anything in his speech. I couldn't. There were people who were saying there are tangibles. Oh, there are 165 million, 20 million. Now, if those deals were signed, if those were things that countries promised to President Weah, why is it that we didn't hear anything about it until he arrived? Why was nothing said about it? We heard about the deal with Ghana and the State Department. We heard about the other countries, 6 countries with MCC. How come we heard nothing about over $20 million or over 100 and whatever million dollars, as he said in his speech? We hear nothing until he gets here, and then he said their promise. So I think the speech was just jabs. I think we learned nothing. I think we gained nothing from it. I think it was just a charade for me today.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Gilman, the unapologetic sedition. Mr. Gilman, what's your take?
Obviously, if we're going to be genuine in our speeches and our assessment, I expect that we will be honest and not be disingenuous. Most of you here who are administrators in this new dispensation, I'm an administrator when I work for the United Way and everything else. My office goes with me in this new age. I'm never out of my office. I have my staff meetings by Zoom. I have my payroll signed by e-signature. As I'm on the road, everything that has to do with my office is going on. I am talking to my accountant. I'm talking to my auditor. I'm talking to everybody else that works with me on the team. And Mr. Tukpa here will tell you, when he recruited me to join the CDC, he and I were doing business while he was in DC and I was in Florida. He was on his way to Mexico with changing and doing a lot of stuff. So these are things that modern administrators do. You do not have to be actually in the spot to do so. And the president laid it out very clearly. He said the Constitution and our rule of law lays it out that my office is never idle. I had an administrator that was in charge. We had a vice president in country. We had an organ that is in place. So the president is schooling you on, obviously most of you have never been into politics and at that level, but the president is schooling you as to how it works. And then we'll go into the goodies later on.
Thank you. Mr. Drupu.
Thank you very much, Dennis, and thank you to my fellow panelists. I think I will just deviate a little bit from the three speakers before Mr. Gaiman, that said the president's speech was just empty, flat. And I listened to that speech and I saw an animated George Weah. I saw, a very authentic George Weah and also very organic. He was George Weah personified, and he laid out clearly, what his entire trip was about. And he started with his meetings in Morocco. He talked about the dividend that Liberia will accrue from that meeting in terms of the port, the National Port Authority, the technical support that the Port of Tangria, the NPA is going to benefit from that arrangement. And he talked about his meetings in Egypt at the COP, the whole climate change, the whole quest for global leaders to commit to making sure that our planet is secure for posterity. And he also talked about his going to Qatar, meeting with the Qataris, the commitment they've made. When you look at all these things, I'm a student of political science, and I look at it from a more contextual framework. These meetings, these engagements, these things don't happen overnight. Somebody talk about what are the commitment, what are the goodies, You make a relationship. International relation is not an overnight thing. It's about getting involved with the conversation, leaders coming together, understanding the needs of each other, harmonizing those expectations and all that, and forging a way forward in terms of what you will get from that relationship. Because the whole old notion of international relation where is all based on the superstructure, alliance construction, and all these engagements. The context now is more substructure, is more economic relations, is more, what can I get from you? What can I offer you in terms of reciprocity, So what I heard from President Weah, people might think that, these things are not tangible, they are intangible, they are just lofty, pronouncements. Well, let's wait and see, in the coming weeks and months to see how these things can be actualized. We can't just say, well, he talked about a 50 million, commitment here and there, and somebody was mentioning the commitment from the U.S. government in terms of governance and elections and all that. Those are commitments that Liberia can benefit from. Because we go into elections, we want elections to be free, democratic, fair, and all that. It takes money, it takes resources, it takes international, support to make sure the process has international, guarantee. It can be worth of international commendation. All those things I think that leaders engage in on the side. He met President Biden, he met other, U.S. leaders. And so let us wait and see how these things can trickle down and how they can benefit Liberia. So I will just stop there and just hear, what my colleagues will say.
Mr. Batuba.
Yeah. So seriously though, was that a speech or a performance? What was that? Because
it seems like the president does not understand his role, the requirement of his presence in the country. That whole little debacle to me, how I see it, that animation was performance. Um, the content was just basic justification for his absence. But then some people say whether he there, he not there, at the same thing. So maybe it doesn't make any difference whether he's in the country or not. But for me, I see a president, especially in a society. You see, Jerome, they say he can take his office on the road because Jerome is working with real professionals,
Thank you.
people who understand their functions, and there's high expectations for them to perform. There's performance management from the next level, even higher levels, to ensure that they do what they are supposed to do. But when you have a situation where the competence of many of the people around the president is suspect, the ability of the president to synthesize all that information that's supposed to be coming at him and make the real decisions in the best interest of Liberia is very limited. So, justifying going on the road and saying he's still running an office makes no sense. And then when it comes to the commitments that people made, you know, did he know just today? I believe more than 5, 6 months ago he was aware of this trip, right?
Mhm.
Some of these different invitations, they don't just you don't just invite a president October 20 something for him to be coming there November 1st. That makes no sense to me. That kind of like spontaneous invitation for a president, it makes no sense. So the president trip was planned. They had the understanding, they know what the travel mandate is in terms of the number of days he's supposed to stay out of the country for any one trip. And a trip is not necessarily a visit to one country to say I'll visit this one country for 7 days, I'll go to another country for 7 days and multiply
Yes.
7 times 7 49 to be out of the country. No, that doesn't justify his absence. The actual commitments themselves that he talked about, if these were serious things, they would have been having prior discussions before his visit. And his visit will be a culmination of that effort, ending up in a signed memorandum of agreement or memorandum of understanding.
You
But they
don't know
just,
that, Ava. You don't know if anything happened prior.
if it happened prior, then it should have been consummated. That's the point I'm making.
Okay.
So, you know, at the end of the day, it would be wonderful if all those things the presidency can materialize for the benefit of Liberians. For me, it's just about the best case for Liberians. But we saw President we are doing campaign. He wipe the tears off the Liberian people face. He make sure that nobody go to hospital and be rejected. He made sure that no Liberian will go hungry at night.
We'll feed them.
XYZ. Today, he's justifying the price of rice, the increase of rice.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, look, I can break down our geographic structure, our land mass, the area available. We only need point zero at 2% of our land area. Our 43,000 square miles will convert it to hectare, like 1 million and change hectares. We only need about 180 to 190,000 hectares to plant rice that can be produced like 630,000 tons of rice, which is adequate for us to eat on an annual basis. So it makes no sense for him when we're talking back, when I recruited Jerome and other people to the CDC, the idea was we were going to bring food security to Liberia.
Well,
For us to be
thank you,
scrambling
Isaac.
today, 5 years of this leadership, is pathetic. So, we can have more discussion on these things. It
Right.
just,
So,
it
so
just sad
let's
where
start
he's
like
at.
this. And I will start with Mr. Dupu. What do you think was the purpose of this speech? What did Mr. Weah set out to accomplish? And do you think he accomplished that?
Well, I think the speech was manifold. I mean, you can't have it wasn't like a one track, you know, approach. It was multi-tracked to me. I saw him giving, a report. It almost felt like a state of the nation or state of the union, where you might call it, you know, he was giving a report of his travel, because we talk about he's been gone for 49 days, and he's not the first president who has left his country for 6 weeks. I've heard of presidents who've left for 6 months. The president of Nigeria, for example, the president of Cameroon, Paul Biya, they've left, for maybe medical reasons. Some people, thought it wasn't for medical purposes. They were just, having a field day, using government money and all that. There were crises in Nigeria. People talk about it in Cameroon and other places. But let's put that aside. My impression was that speech really laid the basis for, the presidential elections. I don't know, people were seeing it in that context. For me, I was watching it from that prison.
Right.
That speech.
In other words, he was trying to accomplish, election 2023 victory.
Definitely, it was like a speech that was tailored towards, his second term, that was making clear his objective, sending a clear signal to the opposition that he was ready for this fight and he was in it to win it, and so they should get prepared. So if you listen to the speech, when he spoke extemporaneously, when he put his text aside, then I knew that he was in his element, and now he could speak to, he said, the people who could not really follow, what he was reading, and he wanted to come down to that level. So I thought, as a student, as a keen watcher of politics, that digression, that departure from his prepared text was the basis of his presidential, the elections coming, and his preparedness for that process. Taking shots at the opposition and, making all these comments about them, about the protests, about, the stability of the country, about saying that our democracy have reached this far. It has matured to the extent where even if he left the country, we still have political stability. The country is still at peace. That in itself was ginning up, his message for his supporters and the country at large. So why
Thank you, Glenn. The same question, and on top of that, who was he addressing? Who was we are speaking to? What was the purpose? Did he achieve that? And who was he talking to?
I think just from listening to him and looking at the people that were present, he was speaking to his base. That I think the speech was planned for his base. He probably knew that is probably what they wanted to hear him say. I'd like to go back to what Dobu said when you're mentioning the president of Nigeria and being away from his country. He was sick.
Yeah, he was elected.
Weah was not sick. President Weah wasn't sick. He was on pleasure. So you can't compare those two. You can't compare what President Weah did and say, oh, he was not the only president who left his country. We saw him having party. Like in his speech today, when he says, oh, if I saw a famous person, I went to them and say, can I take your picture? Seriously? Are you for real? Who was he speaking to? His base. If I was a part of his base, I would say, yes, he accomplished a lot today. Because that was when he said expeditions, when he said Oplaganta, when he said the other one, everybody's screaming. So the speech was directed at his base. I don't think there would have been any other way for him to have delivered it, because the speech was like a comeback for him. He tried to narrate everything he's done because he knows that there has been a lot of criticisms on the entire trip. So he tried to go from A to Z. So for me, not from his base, he accomplished nothing. From the people who are from his base, he accomplished a lot because he explained. And then he talked about a lot of millions. So they're okay with whatever. So the thing about President Weah is, whether we like it or not, he has a base that's going to like him regardless of whatever he says. You have a president who leaves the country where people had not taken pay for October, leaves in October, people had not taken pay for 2-3 months, and he comes back and they paid him subsequently to him coming, they paid him for a month, and they're hailing him. So whether we like it or not, he has a base that can even be described as a cult that's going to love him regardless. But for me, he did nothing.
Mr. Tuba, was this speech necessary? Okay, when we heard that the president was coming and Focus on Liberia was at the, our expectation was he was going to address and take questions at the airport. I was pleasantly surprised when he was at the church. Was this speech necessary and did it accomplish what it was intended to?
So you honestly expected him to answer questions?
Yeah.
The one question they asked is, man, you know you're running away from the reporter. And Dennis, you expected him? No, on a serious note, it show just we are. It's not like he can convince you or me of the substantive issues. He has made promises. He has gone on trips, and he made claims. Now we're getting the benefit of the doubt to see the result. How long those look when you come to the table with those people and you say you get commitment. Commitment have clear timelines. They have clear expectations of what you would do, what they would do to make that particular thing evolve into a reality. We don't see anything of that nature. We just hear one-sided or conviction. We have conviction that there's a commitment from different people. The money for elections, how long Negin been crying for money? We know that the what they call the people name, the Americans will support our elections. But I believe they got certain criteria they expect.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the census. The census has been a debacle. Where are we with the census today? Do you think any rational Liberian believe the integrity of the census, given all we have seen?
But Isaac, while the president was away, a lot of things happened. So he had a purpose for doing this speech, right?
But that's what I'm saying. It's a show. The speech is a show. Okay? One, to satisfy his people. Two, to rationalize his 48 days and justify it. What are you talking about? That justification. The stuff he's saying as a result, look, even if it was true, let's assume everything he says is true. The state does not justify him for the 48, 49 days away from the country.
Absolutely.
The state does not justify his lies in his letter in terms of the schedule of events, the extension of his visit. He lied. He lied to Liberian people. He's not addressing those lies. He's not addressing the concerns of the people. He left them hungry. He came back. He met them hungry. But you see, many of the people over there, if you look on that stage up there, how many people were in shoe up there? Slippers. Most of them. They don't. It's just sad. Most of our people don't understand the state of poverty they are in.
Yeah.
Okay? And until they can get to that level, those who are following George Weah as a celebrity, you cannot take that away from him, like Glenn said. People will cheer him. George Weah fall down, people will cheer him. Oh, the Papa playing star. So that's just what it is.
Thank you, Dr.
But we have a country to run this. It's about time Liberians wake up and say, look, this man has celebrated our star. We can't take it from him. He stood in the gap for us when we didn't have when the war was there and nothing was going on. True. But he cannot run our country to create jobs for us, to make the right governance decision, to really make sure our infrastructure is developed, our healthcare system developed, our education system developed. So, it's just time for us to wake up.
Dr. Gulafale, the president was very effective during soccer on the page. So whenever he got on the page, that was the best place, right? It seems to me that the president has found his voice too behind the pulpit. And so today we saw that
the bishop.
We saw that he actually delivered, from the beginning of the speech, he spoke about why he was away and what happened, that he was running the country. He went to all those benefits that were accrued from the trip. And then he went to lay out all the criticism he got while he was away. He tried to address each and every one of them. Was he not effective doing those?
Well, thank you. And I listened to the other speakers. Let me first address the issue of honesty. And I heard Mr. Gibbon talking about honesty. And I believe in the honesty of politics, because politics is more about public decisions that affect people's lives. It's not about being dishonest, and we have to be honest about ourselves. The president lied to the Liberian people about the Paris Peace Conference Forum, and he emphasized that during his speech that the forum ran from the 11th to the 15th, which was a lie, and it's still a lie. You cannot change it, and that honesty has to be in practice, and it's not just theory. So politics is in a dishonest game, as because the reason people cry for change is because we have dishonest politicians. So we have to be honest. We understand that part of politics. Now, on the issue of his uh, sports, I mean, George Weah is an global. He's a global star. He's a celebrity. We all know that, and he justifying, that he went to Qatar and he met, you know, the Qatari government and some support for sports. We've heard that over and over. Uh, Everything. I hope. We hope that uh, those things come to reality. But I seriously doubt. We've heard a lot of promises. George Weah comes from a trip and make those promises. He justifies why he took a huge delegation abroad. We heard promises when he came from China with a huge government delegation. It's just an ongoing thing. And until we become honest in our practice of politics, we have to fight lies. We have to fight dishonesty to seek the truth for our people. George Weah, as a soccer star, took Liberia as a country that was ranked 138 in FIFA. In 5 years, Liberia has underperformed in football. George Weah being a president in football is dying. A typical example is the interest in investment in the game. The national budget, they slash it. They reduce the budget for football. All of the different football development programs, amputee sports, youth sports. Just go and see the national budget. That's the kind of man who you think he's serious enough. He goes to negotiate and talk about sports development. The person who wants to develop football in your country knows very well you're not serious about football. You're not investing. How are they going to invest their money into you? That's a serious joke. And George Weah is just like uh, our, a medical doctor who takes a country as a president, and after 5 years, all of the hospitals collapse. That's how it like. The bare minimum George Weah should have done in his 5 years was to invest in the game that I personally know that's his trade. That's where his perfection lies. Nothing else. That's the bare minimum, the least George Weah should have done. But he took this worker trip to go and just enjoy, as Glenda said, pledge and come and lie to the Liberian people that he's serious about sports development, football. That's a lie. And I was continuing to emphasize governance for the good of the people is centered around telling the truth. Truth telling should be central to government functioning. If not, we're going nowhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Gilman, Dr. Gulafale keep talking about lies. And let's look at some things that the president said during the speech, and I'll put them on the screen. And let's see, and I want you to react to that. Liberia was stable and peaceful during my absence. Why away the matters of state were executed expeditiously. He went on, everything that they say is wrong, they are the ones who spoil it. All the new things you see here, that we the one fix it. And then he went on the protest. He said, you have your house and children in America, and then you say you are tired.
Where's Tim?
He also said, why are they carrying guns to kill people? And to the gun statement, let me remind you, Mr. Gaiman, and I want you to react to these statements and see true or false Here's a very familiar picture. This one, the one on the right, happened there. And this is presidential aide Carrasco, who was also carrying his gun. Mr. Gaiman, what do you make of all the president's statement? Is he lying? Is he saying the truth?
Well, in politics, I don't know what, Doctor, can you correct me, please? Dr. Golofani, where do you have your PhD in?
Say that again.
What does that have to do with anything?
It does. What is your PhD in?
He's a chemist.
I don't think that should be a focus of this discussion, but for your benefit, I'm a chemist, I'm an educator, I'm a scientist.
Okay, great. I said that to say because usually in one of my graduate classes, one of the things that Dr. Michael Dukakis warned me on is please do not talk across discipline. When you talk across discipline, you tend to trickle and triple over yourself. So I could tell that Dr. Golofali is not a politician. He's not into the social sciences. So he uses the word.
I do read the social sciences. I'm very well informed about the social sciences.
I know being informed and being an expert in is different. Now let's look at this.
And I'm not speaking as an expert.
Let's look at
That's
this.
not what I said.
I didn't talk.
Dennis,
Listen,
you don't need to be a political scientist to know that.
Mr. Gaiman,
answer the question.
Why are you so defensive?
Mr. Gaiman, let's go.
Why you can't answer the question? Why you go to his?
He wants to attack my qualification.
Listen,
answer the question. Did the president lie?
I'm laying the premise.
That
which premise?
The premise
that lie is part of political governance.
Why the ANC people are so antsy?
There's no ANC person here.
Let Jerome defend that lie.
Let me answer.
What theory in politics tells me that lie is part of political governance?
No, listen to this. Listen to this. Lie to you is perceptional. What you consider lie may not be lie to me because there is a definition for lying. Lying has to do with the consciousness that you should know that you are telling a lie. And now misstatement is not a lie. Now let me tell you this. When Ronald Reagan was elected in 1980, the first thing that the guys from the Yales of the world and Harvards of the world said, the man was a buffoon. He would not perform. He is not up to the task. He was an actor. He was a movie star. He knew nothing about Hollywood. All he knew was Hollywood. And he proved them wrong because he turned out to be the best political orator of our time. And he turned this country around. I'm only saying this to say, the president was in his element. Okay? When the president said, when he came back to the country, he wanted to let you know that he was in charge. In fact, he made the international community to understand that all this thing about the country is not safe. The country is on the brink of disaster. It's not true. As evidenced by his 49 days out of the country ran very well. There was a massive protest that most people who have thought would send the country in a tailspin. It went on smoothly. Okay, the justice minister override the things that the minister of sports said by denying the folks their permit. The justice minister overrode that and said, go ahead, have your protest. The security of the state, the joint security were fully informed and prepared and prevented anything. The rally went smooth, no incident. This is how a smooth operation is done when it comes to the state. Now, real quick, let me talk to I think it was G Talk that said the president of Nigeria was sick. That's true. People say he was sick, yet the opposition was saying he was on vacation. Same thing. Weah could have been sick, you would have said the same thing. Mr. Golofalo talk about...
Mr. Gaiman, are you going to respond to my questions? I listed some things that the president said.
Okay.
The Paris Forum, the date he stated, was it a lie or true?
Listen, Mr. Dennis, what was your question? You want me? It doesn't have to be a dialogue between me and doctor because the doctor is off point here.
No, you brought my qualification to the discussion.
No,
I want to question you as a political scientist.
Excuse me.
The fact that the president lied.
let this not become a dialogue. I'm not a chemist, so you and I cannot talk on that. Yes.
Yes, I wanted you to.
What were you saying, Dr. Mr.?
I put some statements on
I
the
wish you
screen, and I
were.
wanted you to react to those statements if they were.
Okay, let's take it one at a time. Put the first one up.
No,
we have to go over the whole thing again.
No, I'll do one.
You're talking about honesty. You're talking about being honest.
The president talking about the gun.
The gun.
And the president, we have an issue here where the president also carry a gun.
Okay, now let's talk about what time are you talking about here? What are the dates on those events?
During the there was also a rally. I think it was the inaugural.
Was that 2017?
Yes, or 18.
Okay, or 2008, now 5 years ago. So here we say Mr. Cummings is saying no one should do the same thing over and over. It's a sign of insanity. So are you saying that because it happened in 2017, so it should happen today?
I'm only asking.
Oh no! What I'm saying here is we are in. Actually, the president was right when he said the country is peaceful and it was run expeditiously. I think he was right. The people even took gun to the rally. He asked them, "Why would you bring gun to a peaceful rally?" And even in the absence of all of that, the country went real well. There was no problem, no anything. In fact, let's look at one quick thing that came when you look at Front Page Africa Today that's coming out tomorrow. What it says there will tell you the front page of Front Page Africa tomorrow says George Weah scores. And then
what you can do is score goal. They went to practice.
And not only that,
you see now. Now listen to this now. Okay. I think when Mr. Kiatama, when he made his report today on OKFM, the headline that he wrote on his Facebook page was, "To know the country, you have to know the people." Joe Weah knows his people. That's all I can tell you. That is in a nutshell. Yes, sir.
Let me go to Mr. Padmo. Mr. Padmo, were there some high points in the president's speech? Let's talk about the highs and the lows. Let me start with some of the high points.
You're asking me to identify some of the high points?
Yeah, if you can.
Wow. That's tough, man. That's tough.
All right.
Yeah, that's tough.
What's the lows?
Well, yeah, the lows was when he was condescending and disrespectful to another political leader. I think that was a low point. I think the office of the president garners more respect than that. I think that was a low point. I think it was a low point when he just tried to play off the struggles and the challenges of the Liberian people. He ignored. I mean, he made it seem like there wasn't a rice issue. He made it seem like he doesn't know the price of rice is over $20. Those are some very low points. The president drove from RIA on that road and didn't even mention RIA.
Yes.
In his whole speech. Those were low points. It was almost like, I'm going to ignore all of your suffering for over an hour. And I will just tabata here. And then when I finish, y'all will cheer me off. I think that was very low. I think that was people who really expected to hear something encouraging yesterday did not. Not at all. And I think those were the low points.
Mr. Drupu, I know you had some reactions, but if you can identify some highs and lows.
Well, I think there were very many high points in the president's speech. Like I said, initially that, he came across very authentic, and George Weah was in his element. That's the George Weah that, Liberian people know, especially when he's off script, he speaks his mind. And like I said, I was watching that speech and I could just deduce that this speech was the cornerstone for the presidential elections. He made it very clear that he was ready for the opposition. And, let's go back to, all the prior statements that, especially Dr. Golefale was making, I mean, we can't just be debasing the office of the president, and saying that the president is lying, everything is lies and lies. I found, we can be just to just oversimplify the workings of the presidency. It takes a lot. The president, you might not be, in his corner. You might not, you might be opposed to some of his policy and the way he carries himself. But let be respectful too of the office of the president. Let's show some, some decorum. Let's show some deference to the office of the president. I don't think everything George Weah said in that speech was just blatant lie. I mean, he went to the Paris meeting. The videos are there. He went to other meetings. The videos are there. Are you saying that George Weah just left Liberia and just went back to Liberia without meeting anybody? Let's just be clear here and just be truthful to ourselves. No, it didn't happen like that. You might have problem with the dates and all that, but he went to all these meetings. He went to the Sharm el Sheikh climate meeting. He went to Morocco. He met the people there. I saw all those videos. He went to Paris. He came to America. He met Biden. He met all these people. There were side meetings that were held. They were on the side meetings. We are not privy to those things right now. And sometimes these things, they take time to germinate. International relations is not just an overnight engagement. There are people who will do the technical aspect of it when leaders leave. The foreign ministry, the justice ministry, other line ministry that have mended different areas. People will do the president don't go and start doing the actual technical work. Presidents don't do that. They do the overarching thing. They set the agenda. Their officials are there to do those heavy lifting. So to come here and the sport thing, let me just conclude on this point. The Qataris, they made commitments about the Menakoma Highway, the Banga Menakoma Highway. Isn't that something tangible that Liberia can benefit from? Yeah, these are things that will not happen overnight. Even those governments, they have their own priorities too. So the world is having this mass, global inflationary issues and all that stuff. Nation states themselves are setting their priorities. So you can't just fit Liberia in those people's priorities without them considering their own domestic concerns. So
Mr. Bropo, were there some low points for the president's speech?
Well, I mean, somebody talk about the president, shooting from the hip, sending some jabs to the opposition, and Mr. Dr. Goldenfather talked about politics. He talked politics is not moral.
I'm talking about the laws.
You want to be a moralist, you can't be involved in politics. It's not a moral thing. It's about arm twisting. It's about fist fight, the dog fight, getting in the mud and mud slinging, all these things. Those are the realist, approach.
I don't believe in political correctness.
You want to be an idealist and come with your moral grandstanding, and the president, he lying and all that. All those things are couched in the whole political, dispensation.
So basically,
maybe it might be, throwing some jobs at the opposition, talking about people, having pot bellies and the thing they tire. Yeah, these are jobs. These are things that people kind of resonate with the people, and you throwing it out there, and you setting the agenda for the elections coming next year. So let's see how it plays out.
Mr. Jah, can I come in? Can I come in?
Big belly, and then you say you are tired. Are you saying this was a low point, or
Mr. Jah? Okay, go ahead.
Well, I mean, politicians take jobs at their opponents. I mean,
all right.
You find it here, you find it everywhere. I mean, there's not a lovey-dovey game where you think you're cozying up to people. You're setting your clear line. You in this fight, it's a political contestation. People want your job. You want to maintain your job. So, you know.
Yeah, can I just have 10 seconds?
No, Glenn, I got a question for you.
Can I address something, Mr. Ja?
Yeah, go ahead. 30 seconds.
Yeah. Let's be honest here. I don't believe in political correctness. So that's why I asked. I want to see the theory in politics that supports telling lies. I believe in truth telling, and that's what I think it's the foundation for
honesty,
personal integrity, for good governance.
Maybe
so
I can cite,
no justification. There should be no justification for lie. There should be no justification for lie. A lie is a lie. Respect goes both ways. If you don't respect the people by lying to them, they don't respect you.
So Dennis, I know you have a question for me, but I also wanted to just a few seconds. I think it's very disingenuous and dishonest for Mr. Dwopu to make it seem like the president, the issue on the dates with the Peace Forum was just something that really wasn't important. This was a world forum. Other countries, the president deliberately, because if he lied while he was away, he came back again today and carried the same lie in his speech. So it was deliberate. That's like Mr. Gaiman said, it was a misstatement. It was not. Because if it was a misstatement initially, he would have corrected it. I just posted it on my page. On the people emblem, on their logo, they have the dates. And so for President, we have to lie a while away and come back and lie again. That is not.
Are you saying that he didn't attend a peace forum?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the dates he said he attended are incorrect.
That's immaterial to me.
No, it is material because he knew exactly when he attended.
It is material.
That's very mundane.
Mr. Dopo, let me tell you something. I'm an educator. I'm an educator.
That's very mundane.
I'm an educator. I've taught to various universities and colleges here in the U.S. I had a situation with a student before, just by changing the date.
It's frozen.
So Mr. Dwopu,
in the same context to student, changing date.
Mr. Dwopu,
it might be a yeshiva. Even yeshiva wouldn't allow you. Would you hold you responsible for change?
Mr. Dwopu, here's the problem. The president wrote the national legislature and said,
yes,
because of this, I'm doing this. So the dates were very significant. He said, because the conference was delayed or it was postponed from the 15th to the 18th, as a result, I came to Qatar late. So the date was not just an oversaw. When you say it was immaterial, it was mundane. This was very significant.
It is. Extremely.
So Glendon, the question I have for you is, the president was obviously on the roll. He was giving red meat to his partisans. So he riled up his partisans, his base. And this is exactly what he was trying to do. There is we have the partisans, seditions, they call them. You have opposition. Nobody's talking about that middle group. So, and let me play you a video from the party headquarters to tell you that the president was on a roll, and you will agree that he actually set up to do this, and he did it. Take a listen.
Gentlemen, please rise to your feet and welcome His Excellency the President of the Republic of Liberia. Thank you.
So, Glennie, as you can see, the president giving red meat to the base, and you see the response, right? You see what he's getting from the base. That's exactly because he's been away for 49 days. So there's momentum is low. So he purposely set out to do this, right?
Yes, that's why I said.
Wouldn't you agree?
I agree, and that is why I said earlier. I said if he was the speech was intended for his base, and he did that. He was there to wake his base up, and that's exactly what he did.
You think that was smart?
I think it was smart because let me tell you, like I said, whether we like it or not, whether we like George Weah or we don't like George Weah, there are a group of people that will love George Weah regardless. All of us at one point in time loved George Weah, the soccer icon. We loved him. So, and that's where he started from, where he started from. The church is somewhere where he goes and people will gravitate towards him, and his base is where he will go and talk and people will gravitate. What is interesting is that the picture is under 90 degrees, it's not 360 degrees of the field. It's not 360 of the field. It's only 90 degrees angle of the field. So, of course, if you're in a confined space, you'll say, oh, those were a lot of people there today. So I'm just saying, yes, whatever he planned out to do, he did for his base. That's why you see Gamer is excited because Weah did what Weah was supposed to do. In Gamer's world, that even if Weah lies, he's not going to lie and say it was a misstatement. So it's fine. He's playing to his base. He did what he set out to do.
Mr. Gamer, who is Mr. Weah trying to get those in the middle at least? Because this is all red meat for the base. What happened to the rest of us? Mr. Gamer, please unmute yourself. Before they say I'll mute you.
Yes, in American politics, like we say in Grand Bassa County, the one bird in the palm of your hand is better than 1,000 out there. So you want to make sure you secure that one bird in your palm first. President Weah had 38 to 41% of the Liberian populace behind him solidly. So that means he has 59% of the population against him. What does it need is...
Can you fact check?
Excuse me, sir. What President Weah needs is 50 plus 1. So all President Weah needs is 9% of the vote of Liberian to sway towards him. And in politics, when I worked for President Biden and Obama in 2012, optics is everything. If you saw when the president came into my hometown in Fort Pierce, he went into a restaurant and the restaurant manager lifted him up and swung him, and that picture went viral all over the world. If you go back to 2012, you will see Barack Obama being picked up by the owner of a restaurant here in Fort Pierce, Florida. So it's all about optics. Even if there were 10 people in that room and we can sell it to look like 1 million, which it did, that's what it takes. And I don't want to quote this young man because it's terrible, but Bin Laden said it. They asked him, how were you able to pull this off? And he said, everybody in the world wants to ride a winning horse. So you have to portray a horse that is winning. If President Weah can portray himself and the Seditians are winners, that 9 percentage point in between will easily sway towards him, and the opposition can talk all they want to talk. Nothing going to happen. Has a 50 plus 1, and that's it. So yes, optics is everything.
Thank you.
Someone talk about
including.
Excuse me.
No, go ahead,
Mr. Gaiman.
Yes. When we talk about people taking advantage of speech, or someone talk about politics being moral, politics not moral, and I want to preface Walter Mondale and Ronald Reagan in 1988, 84, excuse me, their debate. Walter Mondale, good looking from Minnesota, he told Ronald Reagan that Ronald Reagan was old. And Ronald Reagan turned around and jabbed at him and said, I will not take advantage of your youthfulness, your youthful indiscretion, or your youthful inexperience. So it was a retort that won that debate. So it's all about optics. So here is an intellectual, a Watermonday, a lawyer, a congressman, senator, you name it, he has done it all. Vice presidential candidate, vice president, now presidential candidate, want to pin the man who he say is a non-scholar, uneducated, misfit, doesn't belong in this place. And the man turn around and pin him and say, I will not take advantage of your youthful indiscretion. Those are the events that we are talking about that make or break someone. So President Weah is using this optic. And when you look at the front page of Front Page Africa today, it tells you all.
Front Page Africa is a newspaper. They're doing what they're supposed to do, entice people. It's an enticement.
The issue of optics also applies to when the president leaves the country for 49 days and lies. The optics.
Mr. Tuba, this speech is not in a vacuum. Just a few days ago, there was a Weah Tired Suffering rally, and the president was responding to that. In your mind, how effective you think that was to respond to? First of all, we look at crowd size, we look at the purpose, and the president was effectively countering that. He even took jab at someone in the crowd he called a sociopath.
Mm-hmm. But you keep jumping to conclusion about effectively. How effective was that? What's your metric for effective?
Tell me if it was not. Huh? Tell me if it was not effective.
No, but I don't want you using the word. You should have asked, was it effective? Don't tell me say it was effective. That's my point.
The sedition believed it was effective, and we saw that.
Now you're coming on better by saying the sedition. We know most seditions are delusional. And unfortunately, Jerome has gone into that space of delusion. For him to be here thinking, I'm serious. For him to be here thinking and justifying lying and saying it's about optics.
So, Alva, let me ask you one question.
Sure.
When you were a sedition, were you delusional?
Why you think they call me combative, Chairman? Because I'm not delusional.
I think the kind of characterization.
You yourself, I go back and forth.
Kind of debase the discussion.
No, I'm not debating anybody. I'm being honest.
Most sedition are delusional and all that stuff.
When it comes, Georgia is a star. Wait, let me have my say now. Let me finish talking.
You can't be that condescending.
You have some time, Mr.
Georgia is a star. Whether you like it or not, his star power influences some people who see no wrong in him. And they are very delusional in that respect.
But delusional is strong. To say they are delusional,
people can't tell me what's strong for me or what's not strong for me. I'm being honest with you.
For the purpose of the discussion, I think you got to elevate the discussion.
But that's the elevation right there.
They want you to be politically correct.
I'm not politically correct. I don't know.
Let me continue. You have a chance to respond.
Delusional. They're looking at the state of this country today. And they still pretending. That things not bad. They're hungry, sitting over there. Watch, we are talking. They're hungry, clapping. Most of them, they will come around in boxes and beg for money. You know that. So let's not pretend. Let's tell the truth about this thing. Our people are miserable and suffering. And he wants to measure. So right now, Jovia is insulting all the people who haven't said, all the people who got big gun in Liberia and say they're not suffering. Do you know how many people fall in that class?
But he is saying
he's insulting them, trying to hit on Louis Brown, the other guy who was walking by Louis Brown. Yes, but he got to understand, Joe, I don't even understand the origins of revolutions in country. You think that the poor people can really lead revolution? No. It's those who are well up and that dissatisfied with their peers in society who are doing the wrong things. They tend to lead revolutions. So he got to understand the histrionics that has gone on. His base will be his base. And I see some people kind of joke out doing. He say you won't see them they crying, they won't come inside. So Joshua has influence on people that you can't take that from him. But that other large Jerome get oil about 49%. What kind of nonsense that? Joshua probably got like 28 to 30% of the population right now who will blindly follow him and want him to be president simply because they can say Joel are president. Joel will not win these elections. He will not. The Liberian people are tired. Do you think the citizens who really support Jovial can fit in one late church? There were empty chairs in our church. Then the party headquarters, that's a central location. They hardly all the power was saying that empty. But it's okay. Let it keep being deluded that this is the path this country is supposed to take. This is where when we were seditions, what we were fighting for. Joe, you know very well that's not the substance of what our mission, our goal, and vision was for this country. It's not what's happening today. So for people to sit there and try to make the case or try to use fabrication or try to justify, please put my letter up, the letter from the Peace Forum, please put it up. I beg you. Where are you reading it, Jerome? You read it for us, Jerome.
I can't read. I'm a sedition.
No, that one part I disagree with you because the fact is about 80% of our people in our country can read, if not more. But anyway, the letter says, Dear Mr. Mame, and Mr. Mame is Ambula Mame who took the initiative to validate this information. Thank you for your email. The Paris Peace Forum took place on 11 to 12 November. What the acting you'll see in 15 there? The forum session ended at approximately 16:30. That's 6:30 p.m. on Saturday, 12 November. Remain available should you have any further questions. Kind regards, the Paris Peace Forum team. We know how early he went to Paris.
So what is that?
I think around the 9th.
Thank you, man.
Right? So he had 3 useless days in Paris, doing nothing at 9th, and well, the 8th, 9th, and 10th. Then the 11th and 12th, he went to this thing. Probably he spent 30 minutes in one of those things where he
you see, you might be delusional, man. You're saying probably.
No,
you are guessing.
I'm not sure.
So if you're not sure, then don't say it.
The delusional people can be sure. I'm not
sure.
No.
Jerome, let him talk.
Thank you. Let me go to Padmo.
If you're not sure, don't say it.
I'm finished, Julio. I'm standing here. Everybody talk our patience. So can I finish what I'm saying? So it's established
please your thought.
that the president, I'm coming close. The president lied to the people of Liberia. It's clear. He has been lying to them for a long time. And until they can recognize they are subject to that syndrome called the Stockholm syndrome, where the abuser continues to abuse them, they love the abuser. Why do you think they got disenchanted citizens? You think those disenchanted citizens are a joke? Some of them were on that stage. They are dissatisfied. The change that he promised the young people, the change that he promised the disadvantaged youths, the opportunities that he promised market women. But we can't lie. Jovial can lecture. When Jovial a preacher. Jovial get up there, you perform. He's a performer. But for those who want a substantive Liberia, those who want the opportunity to improve their lives and not to be retrogressing, they had that opportunity in 2023, a few months. So for me, I'm not trying to convince anybody to vote for Mr. Cummings, and I'm trying to convince them. I will say what the positives of Mr. Cummings are. If you can see that and run away from it and go behind Jovial, who carried the country down the drain, that's up to you. That's the life you want to live.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Padmo, overall, just a few days ago, we had a show here where we said, every government is the reflection of its society. What we saw in there, the speech, is not, and the way people responded to it, including Archbishop Isaac Wenger, and also the Methodist bishop. I mean, what does that tell you? People like what the president's saying, right?
Oh, yeah, you can always find those people. Now, let me tell you something.
But these are not small potatoes.
Oh, yes, they are.
But you know their track record, though. You know Wenger track record. What do you expect for Isaac Wenger?
Michael, let Michael talk now, Glennie.
No, but you can always find the people. Look, let me tell you something. There's something I remember and something I don't think I'll ever forget from the rest of my life. When Samuel Doe left the executive mansion on an ill-fated day on his way to the port, there were people on the street cheering for him. Then you will always find people. You will always find people to cheer for you. That's how it's going to be. It doesn't matter what you say. George Weah could get up there and not say a word. Not say a word, just stand there and clap a hand. And people are going to be clapping their hand for that 1 hour. You always find people like that. So it doesn't surmise anything really. That's why the president went to a church. That's why the president went to a friendly church. That's why the president put together die-hard seditionists to come to that church. Because that's the uptick that, sometimes people wonder whether it's even the president not doing it. If he's being handled well. Because everybody understands what the president wants, what he wants to see, and all that. And they play it for him. And he sees it, and he goes about his way, Unfortunately, guess what? Woodrow Wilson wrote a book called When the Cheering Stopped. Woodrow Wilson took America through the end of the First World War. And he wrote a book called When the Cheering Stops. And when you read that book, it tells you hunger is a reality. You can cheer that whole day. But guess what? Other people going home right now. The people that were hungry before they went, they're hungry now. Even if they got small thing, that thing will last them maybe till Tuesday, Wednesday. Then they're back to the suffering. And that suffering is the reality. And that when that reality catches you, all that cheering go out of your ears, and they will be back to disgruntled seditions. That is the reality.
Thank you.
Reality is a very strong substance.
If you're just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing President Weah's speech at the Dominion Fellowship Church. Dr. Golafale, if you were writing a speech for President Weah today, what would you say? What would you include in that speech?
Well, thank you for that question. And, I'm a follower of politics, and I read a lot of things that inspire me about politics. It's sad that when people take themselves to be expert in the field of politics or they have experience, they want to brush aside the issue of political leadership. And one of the principles of political leadership is truth-telling. You cannot deviate from truth-telling and achieve or sound political leadership and good governance. You cannot. And that's why we all on the platform want to see Liberia, a country whose democracy has been hampered in the past, and we want to see a country that are going to transform and, looking at considering all of the social structures that have been broken over the years due to the war. And all of these things lie on leaders not being honest. And then they indoctrinate their followers to normalize dishonesty, lies, and just hit the truth. If you read about principles of political leadership, it will tell you what a leader should be to promote democracy, good governance, and a vibrant nation. Now, the issue of your question, let me come to it, Mr. Jha. If I wish I were a speech writer, which I'm not, but if I were a speech writer for President Weah, by now, I think he would have fired me, because I will focus on he being honest to the Liberian people. I'm a firm admirer of James Comey, the former FBI director. Read his book on saving justice and the higher loyalty. You will understand that this nation, America, the foundation of this nation is based on truth-telling. The political leadership would be hampered if you have the likes of Donald Trump still in power, because everything will lie and they hated the truth. So I will be truthful to President Weah in his speech to tell the Liberian people, look, I'm sorry that was an error. The Paris Peace Forum was from this date to this date. Being honest and admitting to errors, or if it was an error, is part of truth-telling. And that your base will understand that you are a serious person, you want to be truthful to them. You're not indoctrinating them, making them so glued to the culture of lies and dishonesty. That's what this whole government has been about. The lies so much. I wouldn't sugarcoat my tone. I'm not a political correct person. I'm sorry for those who think being real, telling the truth, telling it as it is against the normal way of having discussion. But that's it. So thank you.
Thank you. Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to join the conversation, please call the number that's on the screen, 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403-pound. Again, Glendy, let me come back to you before Mr. Dupu. The speech was not in a vacuum. People are always saying, what is the alternative? President Weah is doing X, Y, Z because the opposition not serious. With all the bad things or the negative that you identify in the president's speech, do you think the lack of a vibrant opposition is responsible for those missteps the president is making, in your word?
I wouldn't say that, because I mean, let's not be naive to think that we have a vibrant opposition. We don't. So that's clear cut everywhere. We don't have a cohesive opposition group because each person is in their own corner doing their own thing. But I don't think probably it would help, and they will be able to maybe shut Weah off a little bit. But I think George Weah, like I'm saying, the opposition have to do all they can to be able to close up on his charisma to the people of Liberia. Whether he does zero or he doesn't do zero, they have to be able to strategize on what can be done to be able to get the core group of people who's going to gravitate towards him regardless. Yes, we need a strong opposition, or George Weah is going to win in 2023 because we have this disjointed opposition group, and that's the truth for me.
Can I address that?
Go ahead.
Because I think it's a fallacy to say opposition is one homogeneous body. In 2017, we had multiple different political parties, right? We had the LP, we had the Coalition of Democratic Change, we had, probably like 17 other political parties who were running as president. So the expectation that today, because there's a general consensus that George Weah have failed, and the only way winning is the opposition has to be on one ticket. I really don't subscribe to that. I subscribe to opposition collaboration. There are significant number of important national issues that the opposition should come to the table on. The census, the biometric voter registration, which should not really be done by NEC, but the National Identification Registry should be leading that effort. Monitoring the National Elections Commission to ensure that whatever schedule they have is clear. The voter registration, especially since they're not trying to facilitate the opportunities for people in the diaspora to vote, they got to be clear. People can have the ticket expecting to come December 15 through, certain month to register in Montserrat County, and now they don't even know when the registration is. So those are the kind of things, the civic and voter education that is supposed to happen. There are just so many things that the opposition can collaborate on. And they got to be able to have discussion. I don't care whether Mr. Cummings vests with Joseph Boyka or the party structure to be professional enough, politically professional, to be able to engage and talk to each other. So Unity Party people, I mean, Mr. Hassan Belete, he's trying. He's reached out to the what they call the name, the Reverend from Capet, who is the new chairman for Unity Party. Yeah. So at the end of the day, we don't have to like each other to even have discussion in the best interest of Liberia, but we have to be able to have those discussions and come to the table. Mr. Cummings has the ambition. Mr. Joseph Boyka has ambition. They can't force them to be on the same ticket. They don't. The lines of communication for real, tangible discussions on other national issues are not even open. Those who are surrogates should be working together. So as much as you can say opposition is disjointed, but there is not a compulsory situation for them to be on one ticket or for it to be only one political party or two-party system in Liberia. No, we can have other parties.
I don't think that's what she meant.
That's not what I meant, though. I think at some point in time they have to be able to collaborate, just like what you're saying. And I don't want to blame the fact that Weah is able to do what he's able to do on the opposition. I don't want to do that, because to some degree he will be able to do something, but it's also important that they be able to collaborate as an opposition.
Thank you. Let me bring in Mr. Duopu, and then we take our calls. We have a callers lined up. Mr. Duopu, here is our president returning from the country after 49 days, and he chose to go after people. He's responding to individuals. People look at that as responding to gossips and street talk. The second part of the president's speech, do you really believe it was presidential?
Well, it's not my call to say if it was presidential or not. Like many of the guys have said on this panel, George Weah is a celebrity. He's a global icon. That's an established fact. George Weah knows how to relate to the Liberian people, especially those who are downtrodden, who don't have the sophistication, the education, what have you. And that is the voting populace. Yeah. It's not the elite. It's not people who are, scholarly or university graduates. The majority of the electorate is those who did not go to school, who don't have formal education, those who maybe have mid-level education. Those are people who make up the
I want to agree with you there, Mr. Duopu.
If George Weah is deviating from a prepared text and coming, discussing, the trip and other things, and you talk about gossip. When gossip form out the political talk, the political discussion, and all that stuff on social media, talk show, he hears that. People tell him about that. He himself is engaged in that. Those are part of what makes politics. Even gossip.
Thank you.
So if you want to claim that moral high ground and won't be a moralist, gossip and all these things are part of the political culture. And you got to understand the context through which those gossip come, where they're coming from, and where they pretend to do to your own, leadership. So, like they usually say, facts come through jokes, And
thank you, Mr.
So,
thank you, Mr. Mr. Pablo, quickly for 30 seconds. And that's why Isaac doesn't like to hear effective, but that's when he said medulla oblongata, people could relate to that, because I too remember in 6th grade, man, we were using those words. So he speaks that.
But the man in the medical profession just told you, because you can relate to it, doesn't mean it correct.
I don't. Yeah, hold on, Isaac. What I'm saying is that was effective because he's not talking to medical professionals. He's talking to regular people.
Yeah.
So let me tell you. So
I'm part of the line, right? And I'm part of the line.
People have used that before. Medulla oblongata,
No, but Dennis, is that
even because
background?
Be part of our national.
Hold on now. Let Padmo respond quickly.
Social linguistics.
No, even if George Weah will come to say hallelujah, the people are going to clap. He said expeditiously, they clap. He said the other one, they clap. So the word they were not linking nothing. The fact that he used it at that time was what they were clapping for. That's just it.
Even those who were not in the hall could relate to that medulla oblongata because we use it all around town.
Yes, I agree with you, Ja, and I think to some extent I agree with Mr. Duopu on that, how he relates to the people, and that is a common thing in our culture, especially those who go to school in cuisine. They use those medulla oblongata and all that. So I think he tried to use that, to his advantage. That I related to it because back then I knew we used to use those things, and I just laughed.
And Mr. Padmo, my question is.
Y'all went to government school? Y'all went government school?
This is what is
see y'all answer me. Y'all went government school?
Of course, I went to Basa High School.
Now I understand.
Don't say that before we reflect fully on your education. Don't say that before
Mr. Tukba, that's why you're in trouble, because we can say it Tottenham High School, Basa High School, Sandal High School versus CWA, you lose.
Lose what? Lose what?
You lose.
What?
That
What
conversation.
Mr. Partner,
that
Mr. John, what is your
yeah,
question?
let me mute these guys. Mr. Partner, my question is, this is the part, because what he did there with Medulla Oblongata, the most of the criticism against Mr. Comey is he's not able to do that. What do you say to that?
Well, I mean, look, everybody has their niche. Everybody has their space. I think Mr. Cummings trying to be that person will be fake. And I think it will come off as fake. Everybody is talking about Mr. Cummings. Everybody holds Mr. Cummings to a higher standard. Even the president. The president can get out and lie today. Everybody will pass it off because they know the president lies. But if Mr. Cummings lies, the whole country will be in uproar.
Thank you.
$70,000 got missing.
No, not even 70. No, hold on. It's
Hey,
clean.
Azim, man, let him finish.
No. The public listening, Dennis. The public is listening. They claim 70,000.
Yes, $70,000 allegedly got missing from ANC.
Thank you.
When UP went to LOFA, $110,000 allegedly got missing from there. They didn't pay the poll watchers. Nobody cared about it. When the president did that, when they did the money thing, $25 million was unaccounted for. They just took $11 million to subsidize the rice. Everybody expects those people to steal. When $70,000 allegedly gets missing, when Mr. Cummings is around, it's a national issue. That is Mr. Cummings.
And you know why, right?
Yes, because they hold Mr. Cummings with his integrity and at a higher level. And so the Liberian people get the message. They know who Mr. Cummings is. And if he becomes president, he will bring to the table. They understand that.
Thank you. Let me bring in our callers here. Let's get a few callers in. The line is very long. So let me start with the person with the highest minute here. And that's Elvis Morris. He's been here for 13 minutes now. I'm surprised he's not complaining yet. Go ahead, Elvis, you are live.
Yeah, I'm complaining in my heart. But let me just say, good show tonight. And for the ANC people, let me tell them this. Tell Cummings to do a case study on what we are did today. It's a case study for any Liberian politics, not American politics, but Liberian politics. The guy was dynamic. He spoke to the people in a language, like you said, that they understand. He ain't go sit out in front of looters who loot our country, who convincing that they can draw big crowds to bring less than 3,000 people and then steal money for him. I mean, they're embarrassing them right in front of our face. And the men who go to school, the stupid man, the uneducated man, the incompetent man, get a rise out of the average people in Liberia. You saw it then right there today. And some of the things that he said is very true. Take a look at people like Yombi Kanga Lawrence, who has a child in America, who has a home in America. Take a look at Cummings, who has a house in Atlanta, Georgia, has 2 kids in America who are living here. All right? So most of the political leaders have the children in America, and they have homes in America here. Weah is not lying, including himself.
Yeah,
so we made that statement. It was a factual statement.
Weah's son is in America,
right?
Evans.
Thank you.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So it's a factual statement. Man, Louis Brown, I mean, come on. So we over with. But the man is obese. Things
no, we can see your picture. Don't tell you overweight. Don't say you slim.
Oh, he was suffering doing everything, but I want to tell we had to get big out tired of suffering. Come on, man.
But you can be, you can use those word obese, but even you can be obese and be suffering, right? That is suffering.
That's why I said the man suffering. All the people who had it.
That he stole money from the people. Now he's selling in front of food that he's saying suffering.
Come on, man. The government right now to that city.
Wrong person. Thank you very much again for the show.
Thank you.
Let me go, the government stealing too.
Let me go to Mr. John Mawolo. Johnny, you're live.
Yeah, how you doing, Dennis and the platform guests there? Look, I wanted to first deal with Drupo for saying that.
How you gonna deal with Drupo?
Discourse. Your president elevated the discourse today. He is the president of Liberia. Did he elevate the discourse?
He's your president too.
We're gonna meet you where you. We're gonna meet you where you are. You want to go in the water? We're going to go behind you there. The president lied on every facet of that trip. The first thing, they made a conference that he went to in Morocco. There is no way under this heaven that conference will pay for a private jet to take him and his delegation from Liberia, bring him to Morocco, wait for him to carry him to, for what? There were 5,000 guests. Did they do it for everybody? What importance was he at that engagement? Zero. What message did he have? Was he expecting anything? No. So what would they? Secondly, he said the king invited him. The king was not there. What would the king invite him to a meeting that he's not going to? Second lie. Went to Egypt. Came from Egypt. Okay, let's be stupid enough to accept that the people pay for the plane to wait for him and carry him to Egypt. So who paid for all the other flights for him to go to France, go to Qatar, come back to France, come to the States, go back to Qatar, and then to Liberia? Who paid for all of that?
Thank you.
You know, even in the White House, Joe Biden pays for his own toiletries. He pays for his own food. You know why? Because they don't want the American people to control what he eats or how he uses toiletries. We pay for everything. This man should report to us for every cent of our money that he uses, and he needs to stop lying to the people.
Thank you, John.
No serious person in Liberia, give me 1 minute. No serious person in Liberia will adorn that kind of nonsense that these people talk and call it politics. It's not politics to fool an ignorant people who depending on you to be telling them the truth. It's not politics.
Thank you.
Liberia is in the state where they should be fighting for life, not to be playing politics on the people. If the people knew better, they would do better.
Thank you, John. There are a lot of callers. Thank you. Lots and lots of callers. There's this call from Arlington, Virginia, 703 area code. Your name and where you calling from?
Hello, Mr. John. This is Ben Phillips from Northern Virginia. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this platform.
Thank you, Ben. Go ahead.
Geez, I don't know where to begin tonight, but the first thing I want to say is that all of us Liberians, I feel sorry for my country tonight. I know we're talking about all of these rabbit hole things, trips, no trips, paid, non-paid, free trips by president. Our country remains in darkness. There's no electricity at the airport. There's no healthcare infrastructure. There's really no good news for my country tonight. There's nothing coming out of there. I don't know, anybody on the panel can tell me the first good news they've received of something improved since they were last there. Right now, we only have one aircraft internationally, maybe two, Emirates and SN Brussels, going to Liberia. People are dying every day of diseases that can be preventable. I go to Liberia every day, and every day I go to Liberia.
Every day?
It's disheartening.
Every year.
I go every 3 months. I go 4 to 5 times a year.
Wow.
Every trip, it's disheartening. I have a beef with the opposition people. I think they need to kind of really rally to teach the people how to vote, because our people will not be able to decipher the difference between a good president, a soccer player, and someone famous. And they need to talk about this prior to 2023. I think they're letting the good opportunity go by. If I was in opposition, I would every day talk about, unlike the president of Liberia, I will talk about what we need to hope for, what will make our country better, how to improve our country, instead of these, bits and pieces. But all in all, people, we are all Liberians, and I think we need to concentrate on how to improve our country now. Some people, someone mentioned the other day, we are behind the countries that are behind. And I'll end there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let me bring up 2 minute callers. Callers, please. Let's limit to at most 1 minute when you call. Let me bring on Mr. Thomas Kane.
Dennis, thank you very much. I think there's a lot of focus on the president's speech and everything, but I just wanted to quickly comment on the issue of Mr. Cummings and the ANC in terms of the rally. I think for me, looking at Mr. Cummings logically, I think he seemed to have mistaken the Coca-Cola brand to be himself. I think he worked so long at Coca-Cola, and Coca-Cola is a old company founded in 1892. And at the time he's working at Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola becomes a brand. And if it goes to a market, it enters from the top because it's already a brand. It doesn't have to reduce the price. It doesn't have to find a niche to enter the market. It will enter from the top because it is a brand. I think Mr. Cummings, after working at Coca-Cola for many years, mistook Coca-Cola to be a brand equal to himself. I think this approach of entering from the top, that you want to be president of a country that is so complicated, I don't think that is going to work. So he really needs to rethink the strategy. The second point is that many of the people who, just 1 second, many of the people who gravitated towards Mr. Cummings are the middle class, elite, urban settlers. And these are irrational people, a small group of rational people. When he came with the message of change, people follow him. And when he started to deviate from that change, these very people are now rethinking who he is. So I think after this rally, we're really watching to see where Mr. Cummings and the ANC are going to go. But I think he really needs to rethink his strategy, and he needs to rethink where he goes from here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Hassan. Hassan, go ahead. You have 1 minute.
Yeah, good afternoon, Dennis. Just like the previous callers that said, our country is not there yet for all this misinformation and disinformation. We saw what happened in America during the 2016 election and up to 2020 election, and they're still trying to recover from that. But for us in the diaspora to know the truth, to see these things, to know who is the most qualified, and then try to play this misinformation and disinformation, like, on CNN and stuff like that, it's hurting. Those are one of the things that kind of like hurting our people. We in the diaspora should collectively select one leader that we can push forward. We saw it in 2020 when America, all the media system in this country rejected Donald Trump, and they refused, and they were pushing back up until even 2022. But we are still, as a nation, our people aren't even informed. But we get on these, the different powers there and try to disinform our people, and that's not right. And so I think it's time collectively push this agenda and try to get rid of Judge Weah. We all know nobody on this panel will hire Judge Weah to run the company. Not a single person, because they know he's not qualified. But the same people will come there and try to misinform our people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So who coming from this? Who are the settlers?
Mr. Mitchell.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Hello. Is this Jerome Mitchell?
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir. Thank you for calling.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, this is Jerome Mitchell.
Go ahead, sir.
Oh, you're welcome. It's so frustrating, man. So frustrating to just get us, saying things that we know is really wrong. Look, the previous caller just said something. Look, opposition should find ways. By all means, you find a way to get to everyone, not only people up there. If they don't get down there, if they don't go down, way down there, I'm sorry. We headed for another 6 years. Because look, let's agree that when I look at the crowd at City's headquarters today, I saw people, black women, Latin women dancing, dancing. You know what I mean? What are they dancing for? What is the dance to want?
Thank you.
So we need to find a way out.
Thank you, sir. Let me take another caller here. Norris Johnson. Norris, go ahead.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity. Let me get this first out of the way. I respect Joan Given for a lot of reasons, but please don't make no sense. Most of the references are Michael Dukakis, Ronald Reagan. That's for the 2 years ago. For the 2 years ago, rather. We are tired. We are tired of suffering. We talk about current events. If you want to use the reference to support your argument, use a reference that makes sense. Not something that happened 42 years ago. Even American politics have driven away from that point. Again, the next question is Liberia is in trouble. Liberia is in trouble. Liberia needs to be delivered. And this president is failing us. We are worried. We are worried a lot. And God forbid if he goes for another more 6 years, we are in complete trouble. This man is inept to be president of Liberia. And at the end of the day, the voting population that we have, we need to educate them. And this is my most worried. I go to bed every day, worried about in fear. The population in Liberia is not educating enough to vote on issues. We do not vote on issues, and this is the problem that is holding this country back. You will see somebody like Jerome Gilman and come and flip the narrative out here, trying to tell us that the lie that is obvious. He's trying to convince us that no, it is not. It is not a lie. Come on, we can't keep doing this. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me take my last caller here, and we'll go to our WhatsApp line. This is Mr. G.S. Camus. Mr. Camus, please turn your system off and then be on the phone. Go ahead, you're live. Mr. Camus, please turn off your speaker where you are watching the show.
Okay, Dennis, thank you so much. Thank you again, and this is GS. And thanks to your partner. I've always followed you and follow you and the team in Liberia. But anyway, I said it before on this show, number one, we don't have no opposition in that country. We just got people who are running for themselves, who talk for themselves, who want for themselves. And lastly is education. Look, tears almost came down from my eyes today. The people I saw, the crowd I saw, and just dancing and clapping, and I don't know what it's clapping for. The president talking, they don't even give me a chance. When he bring on one word, it just interrupt and we sharing and thing. So you people that are in the media, you got a lot to do. You need to help us educate our people. Bring us some special program where people will come out. Forget about Comey, forget about Joseph Walker, forget about George Weah. Let us just educate the people. Let people get a basic education of their civil rights, of what to do, of what you need to know, and how you need to participate into our public discourse. If we don't do this, Mr. John, the country going nowhere. It will continue to just go in the hole. Because even your men, most of the interview I follow, even when they interview the people who can come on the street to take your interview, they always speak. They don't even know what to say.
And I'm sorry, Jenna. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate your effort and I appreciate the panelists, but they are not helping our people.
Thank you. Let's take
education in our country. If no education for our people, the country is going to go nowhere.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm listening.
Let's take one caller on WhatsApp. That's Ambula Mame.
Yes, Dennis. Good evening and good evening to the panelists tonight. So I monitored the show. I wanted to come in briefly to just talk about the Paris Forum. I see there is a deliberate attempt to dismiss it as a non-issue, and I just wanted to highlight why it is important to be an issue, and why I was very disappointed that the president went to Liberia and restated and defended his lies. The president said the Paris Forum from the 9th to the 18th. The Paris Forum said their program from the 11th to the 12th. That is 7 additional days that the president stayed out of the country in Paris, doing something nobody knows. I'm sure what the president was doing in Paris for those 7 days are not things that he's proud of to associate with as a president. That's the reason why he decided to use the Paris Forum as an alibi. Because if it were anything substantial, if it were anything proud of a president, he would have said, I left the Paris Forum on the 12th, I attended this meeting, I went to this other program. But those were not things that should be associated with the presidency, that for which he could not associate with, and he decided to shift it on the Paris Forum. So it is an important factor to know 7 days out of the country as a president, what you're doing, nobody knows, and nobody can speak about it. What also makes it very important is the president used that particular those dates as the justification for extending his stay in Qatar to watch the football games. That's why it's also important, because he used those days as the justification for why he extended his stay in Paris. So people who are trying to dismiss it, I just wanted to point that out to them. It is nothing to be dismissed. 7 days out of the country, nobody knows where the president was, nobody knows what he was doing on taxpayer money. It's not anything for somebody to dismiss. The second thing I wanted to highlight was about this thing about promises. There's a trend. 2016 coming towards election around football development in Liberia. President Weah came, and then there was the news all around that he signed an agreement for DI Group that's supposed to come and build football academy, approaching the election in 2016. That's public information. To date, we've heard nothing about the establishment of that football academy. So there is a trend where the president travels, he meets these people, come back, make the news, and 2 things. Either when they go into substantial discussion, the people realize that he's not somebody to do business with and turn their back, or he just dropped the ball. So when he comes to Liberia and talk about people coming from Qatar to build football academy and support football, it reminds me of the 2016 promise about building academy, and up to now, nothing has happened. I want to conclude my thought and my position on this issue about opposition collaboration and the president's popularity. Let's stick to scientific references when we're talking about popularity. Everybody saw President Weah. He's a popular man. 2005, 2011, his senatorial election, we saw it. What are the empirical evidence since George Weah became president to point to that his popularity remained the same? In Monserrado County, 2 times he was defeated. Crowd politics, Thomas Farah pulled significant crowd SKD, but he was defeated. 2 times George Weah was defeated in Monserrado County. Grand Cape Mount County Senator ran as an independent candidate. He won as an independent candidate. When he went back for re-election and joined the CDC, he was defeated. So what is the reliance people keep pointing to? You have over 20, 30, up to 100,000 Liberians in our country who like George Weah. The people who turn out today at the airport don't even reach 50,000. And you use that as a barometer to point to his popularity when there are evidence of how he was rejected several times. Opposition collaboration. This theory that opposition collaboration means Weah did not perform, so he should be rejected. And if Joe Boaka and Kumis don't come together and contest, then it means we are performed, so he should be re-elected. It's a flawed logic. George Weah should be elected based on his performance. He should be rejected based on his performance. And the barometer of his performance is not about Cummins and Bouaka coming together, because the whole definition of opposition collaboration in Liberia is Cummins should run second to Bouaka or Bouaka should run second to Cummins. That's not the measure of Weah's performance. Weah's performance should be tied to his promises to Liberians. The promise to make Liberia self-sufficient in food production, the promise to create jobs, the promise to support markets, the promise to create access to finance for smallholder farmers and for other people making markets in Monrovia. Those were the promises. What are the jobs he created? What is the food security status of our country? Those are the things people should be referencing to say whether we should be elected or not. Not whether opposition comes together or not. And under no condition in any country in the world, all the opposition will come together on one ticket.
Thank you.
But rather, all the opposition can come together on one issue. And this time the issue is, Weah is a popular man. God has blessed him. He has gotten everything somebody can get in their life. But it is clear that he doesn't have the capacity and what it takes to develop our country, and we should reject him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me take
Julius Jensen, who is calling out
Turkey. Julius Jensen from Cyprus. Go ahead. You're live. All right. Julius is the rest of it. Let me come back to my panelists here. I know time is fast. Man, you can't call me and then go to bed. Go ahead, sir.
No, sorry. When Ambula was speaking, I muted my call. So when you introduced me, I forgot to unmute the call. However, am I live?
Go ahead, sir. You're live.
Okay. I want to speak before giving my perspective in terms of, Weah has a huge political base of constituents, of popularity that is manifesting itself in Liberia. I want to wrap my thought around something that Mr. Abatoba was trying to say about delusional. Let us not be impervious to the reality. All around the world, when leaders are blinded and unconditionally loved by their people, in most instances, most cases, when they are faltering, the mistakes are not easily seen by the people. Even if the mistakes are seen, it can be celebrated by the very same people. Generally, we live in that country, and I follow Weah from the very get-go of his presidency. In less than 3 months, when Weah started building luxurious culture condominiums, that Weah, all those years he played for, he could not have erected in Liberia. Failing to declare his assets, there was issues, there was accountability. There was a discussion in many quarters in the country, in various communities. We saw Weah political-based people even celebrating it. Even if Weah stole the country money, at least he paid those horses in Liberia. He's not paying it in Paris. He's not paying it in the U.S. Ellen Johnson selling people think they took our country money and they bail us about the fact that we are using the country money is still and paying personal property here, that development and the country is paying. And those very same people, if they are keep all of the very building of houses, they are ready to go in a very structure to go live. So that says a lot that when people, it is a kind of a delusion. When people are into, when they just blindly and unconditionally love leaders, they place them into that alternative universe that is bereft of the reality. But I want to believe that going forward, that view that blinded our people is leaving our people out, and the reality is catching up. We saw when all those years George Weah in opposition, we saw in the country when George Weah either coming from the US, coming from France, we see the young people, the market women, the younger boys in the very communities, mobilizing at their own expense, at their own largesse, printing their t-shirts to go welcome George Weah, to go mark and welcome the leader in the country, right? You will still do volunteering to do that. But today, it is not the reality.
Thank you.
Even 1 million teachers, when they know in reality, they don't even have 1 million people now that believe in we are political base. It's far diminishing. One of the tests of we are popularity when we are in the opposition, we know that all across the country, especially Montserrat and other places, where George Weah laid the hands of a particular candidate vying for legislative seat. Even if you are unknown, relatively unknown to your people, that person will win legislative seat not as a result of their own prominence, not as a result of their own relationship with the people, but because how Liberians demonstrated that unconditional love for Weah to the extent that they even voted in the legislature some of the worst laws makers in terms of policy decision, right? It was because of Weah in Montserrat County.
Thank you, Julius. I want to take one more caller.
The defeat of the CDC in the 2020 senatorial election across the country was a test of Weah popularity.
Thank you.
When people are disappointed, like somebody said, grievances surrounding
Julius.
issues of governance are loudly and wildly expressed through the ballot, and the people demonstrated that.
Thank you, Julius.
What the seat of government is, all government functionary.
Thank you.
What are people supposed to feel the impact of the leadership? The people voted against George Weah.
Thank you.
So thank you. That's the point I wanted to make.
Thank you. Let me take my last caller here, 980 area code. You are live, please. Your name and where you calling from.
Jerry Sumo.
Go ahead, Jerry.
I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Go ahead, Jerry, quickly.
Yeah, let me just make a few points to the opposition. You know, I hear them talking about George Weah popularity. George Weah popularity is something that is unquestionable. Nobody can question Weah popularity when it comes to Liberia, even when it comes to the politics. And one thing I want the opposition to start to think of, George Weah on the ballot as a candidate, or George Weah supporting somebody on the ballot as a candidate is two different things.
Mm-hmm.
George Weah is going into this 2023 elections with a lot of tangibles around various countries. For me, I usually tell the opposition, go and look at country by country. We are won 14 countries out of 15 countries. The only country the opposition won was Lofa country. And look at Lofa country today. George Weah got one more country tour. And that country tour, George Weah will be dedicating a hydro in Lofa that will supply all the bigger cities, Olahun, Foya, with electricity that will be done by June. Also, Nimba country, we are building roads in Nimba country.
Thank you.
When you go to the southeast, we have built hospitals in some of the southeastern counties rather. Nobody's going to win. We are there. So what is the country that these people hoping on that they're going to win this 2023?
Thank you.
Colorado, we all know that's the epicenter.
Thank you, Jerry.
That will be divided.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me go to my panelists now so we can wrap this up. Let me start with Mr. Dwopu. Your response to the caller, you can pick any one of them.
Well, I heard, different viewpoints. I mean, people have their own take of George Weah, the statement that was made. He's coming back.
Mr. Dwopu, we can really see your face. Can you move up a little bit? Thank you.
You see me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was just saying, people, you heard people, having their own take about, George Weah, the trip he made abroad, and the future of the country, where the country is right now. But I would just, maybe my closing statement would be that the presidential elections, have taken off. We have seen it from the president's statement that was very, deviated from his prepared text. We've seen the recent We Tire Suffering March. All those things are culminating into, the future elections that is afoot. And I think somebody mentioned the opposition. I think it was Ava who talked about the splinter opposition that maybe is good for the country. I think it's not good for the country. We need a vibrant, a viable opposition. We want to have a democracy that is very viable, that is vibrant, that brings the best for our country. You can be a supporter of George Weah, you can be a supporter of Cummings, whosoever. As Liberians, our focus should be the betterment of our country. And having a vibrant opposition, holding the government's feet to the fire, making sure that the opposition is engaged, constructively. Those are things that the Liberian people are yearning for too. You can just hold the government accountable and leave the opposition, because they are also aspiring for political leadership and they have a role to play in this democracy.
We'll come back for the closing. Let me get Mr. Padma.
Thank you, Dennis. I mean, yeah, there were a wide range of callers, but you still hear callers, that are calling for a unified opposition. And of course, you hear a few people who are still thinking that, CDC, the incoming CDC, is the same CDC today. CDC that won 14 counties is the same CDC today, even though we've seen that, CDC really has not been able to represent itself and win any election in the 15 counties, So there's a diverse set of views. I think that's where the country kind of sits, and it's really going to take the politician that can subscribe to the majority of those views and change minds is going to be the one standing at the end.
Dr. Gulafale.
Yeah, Mr. Ja, I mean, it's interesting to listen to diversity of views, especially when it comes to the issue of the opposition. For me, I have a position that a test of Weah's re-election was in, I think, 2019, 2020. With Montserrado, historically, Montserrado had been Weah's stronghold, regardless of he being on the ticket or he supporting someone else. It has always been his stronghold. And he was tested in the opposition through unity. They won him twice. And that is a testament. And that's something that I strongly felt the opposition would have built their momentum on, continue to hold together and try to get this nightmare off our shoulders. And I think some of the callers, I agree with them on that point, the opposition. Yes, they have to collaborate on not just about the election is next year, so many issues, and I agree with Mr. Doku. The opposition has to be held accountable because they are, standing for state power. We have to hold them accountable. At the same time, the government has to be held accountable at all times. Again, the central principles of political leadership should be telling the truth, not, using lie to just buy your way through because people are gullible and you have followers who just worship you for little or nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Glendy?
So I think there are different ranges of points that people make on the calls. I think it's also important to note that there are some people who talk about the competency of President Weah being incompetent, that no one would just hire him. Also, the caller who talked about the Paris Peace Accord, who finds it to be very serious. I also tend to agree with him that we should not just allow the president to tell us a lie publicly and globally say a lie, and we think it's okay. I think it's wrong. I also want to continue to encourage Senator Dillon, who had come forth with that issue to the Senate to investigate the president, because it is important for us to hold him accountable. So I think there's a different range of people there. Of course, there are people who are in support of him. There are people who think he's incompetent. There are people who think that we can't just allow him to do what he continues to do and think it's okay. You muted yourself. You're muted. Dennis.
Isaac.
Okay, you were muted.
I think in the sample of your calls, it's evident to me that majority of the people do not think we are the one. And again, we come back to the lying. You know, people want to refine the usage of the word lie, but the fact is, we are lie, right? We are clean. There were peaceful things the whole time he was gone. Hooligans, thugs, government-sponsored thugs and hooligans attacked Louis Brown. He forgot that. The stadium that the sea people were allowed to use, they were denied. They had to pressure and make noise. After they have put a deposit forward, my own man, Zora, wasn't claiming otherwise. So we're in a situation where people are waking up. Again, I say some people are losing up because the stuff is obvious and they refuse to recognize it. They refuse to see it. Maybe it's just for the public pretense, so they don't be like accused or, you know, hunted or whatever by the PS and the CDC. But many of them know things are not right. Many people in government I talk to, they are disgruntled, dissatisfied with what's going on. And people stay in the opposition are vibrant. Mr. Cummings consistently holds Weah feet to the fire. He should curse Weah or insult Weah before the recognition comes that he's doing what the opposition is supposed to do. No, he sticks on the issues. The issue has to do with competence, productivity, seeking the interests of the Liberian people, really looking at the best interest when it comes to the assets and how it's being mortgaged, how we miss spending Liberian people money. Look at the RI highway that he drove on. Like you said, he never made any comments.
Thank you, Isaac.
Yeah,
Let me go to Mr. Dukakis. Mr. Gilman.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad you mentioned Dr. Dukakis' name, because I'm going to segue into that. Okay. Somebody said that I'm using Dr. Dukakis' statement in 40 years, and that's so comical. Here we are citing Shakespeare, and everybody hears, and then they say 40 year information is too old. So I wouldn't even delve into that. Politically, Mr. Cummings opened the door. Mr. Cummings opened the door, and the president being savvy walked right in through it. And when you talk about truth telling, in marketing, something we call bait and switch. That's what Cummings did, which is a lie. Cummings said he was sponsoring, or they were having a rally call, "We Are Suffering." And then when the people show up, they gave them T-shirt. It was all about the coronation of Cummings. That is a blatant lie. So my brother, who says that we should hold somebody up to a particular specimen of truth-telling, he forgot to mention that Cummings just told a blatant lie. And two, my brother talked about truth-telling, that this country was built on truth. That's not true. The United States was never built on truth-telling.
That's not what I said, sir.
The United States said that all men are created equal, but yet and still in the Constitution it said black men were 3/5 of a human being. So we know it's not true. Mr. Meme talked about the time the president spent. There were 7 days that the president was unaccounted for. The president may have been doing something that is immoral. Hey, man. How could we dilute our debate to this level? These are people that we expect to come and make a.
You didn't say immoral. If there's something is not proud, it may not be.
Of course, that's what it is. If it's something that you hide in, that you don't want to, as a president, he said it is not compatible with the presidency. So that's what it is. So I mean, when we come here, we expect the debate to be elevated to an intellectual level. But anyhow, that's why now somebody talk about the president will be elected based on his performance and his accomplishment. And if I were doing that, we'll go all day. We talk about electricity that just came to the country. We're talking about Lofa University, Lofa Community College was just elevated to university. Grand Bassa Community College was just elevated to university. We talk about the 14 military hospital. We talk about the Invisible Park. We talk about the oxygen factory that was just built. We are talking about we just broke ground for a supermarket. I mean, that's or more in Monrovia. What are these people talking about? I could go on and on, but I'll stop there.
The park is invincible, not invisible, sir.
What, sir? That's fine. This is what we are talking about. You have a PhD. I never went to school, so invincible.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You are a political scientist.
Because if you knew better, you would have known that this country was never built on the principle of talent.
That's not what I said.
Thank you, guys. At this time, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the discussion tonight. At this time, we'll go around the room and get your closing about the president's speech today. 49 days out, he's back and he made a speech. Also, there were some, he continued that at the CDC headquarters. And I thought I showed you the pictures before. These are the pictures from the CDC headquarters.
So you see how it empty behind there?
That was before. That was before.
He switched it to the other one. The 90-degree angle, he won't show it.
Listen, if you took a picture before and after, I could make that case too.
Oh, really? You could make that case. Could you not make it for the rally to see him? Did you also not see people at the rally who had on other political t-shirts? Let's be fair now.
Oh, no. Glenda, hold on. I sent Dennis the official shirt for the rally. He will post it, and the same shirt that Cummings was wearing, he will post it. Cummings and his wife and the people behind him. So hopefully Dennis will do that.
Listen,
see who lying here.
Listen.
Let's go around the room now for your closing comments. We want you to talk about the speech as we close, and let me give each of you a minute, 30 seconds each to do the closing. Let's start with Mr. Vatuba.
Thank you. Again, I want to say thank you for having us here on this panel. To your viewers and people who participated, we say thank you for the input. And that's what this is about. We can have, conversations and have diverse viewpoints and diverse opinions. But if somebody lying, we got to be honest and be able to call up the lies and point out the lies factually.
True.
Like showing the letter from the Peace Forum to say it was only the 11th and the 12th. George, we are going there from the 8th to the 18th. That taxpayer money he's using recklessly. If George Weah wants to claim that no money was taken from the treasury, then let's find proof. Let them open the national coffers, the books and everything to see what kind of withdrawals were made, what kind of payments were made. This government does not operate on any sense of transparency and accountability. It's very clear. The people know that everything is hidden. Unfortunately, there's a reason why it's hidden. The same reason why he hid that he was in France or somewhere else for a certain number of days and not participating in anything official is what he's doing today. So overall, the speech was for his population. And like I said, many of them are sycophants. They pay homage. They will cheer him. They will sing for him as he speaks. No one wants to speak truth to power in the midst for fear of, peer pressure or, some kind of insult or something. Some of us, our skin are thick. You can tell me anything. That's fine with me. Look at yourself. Look at me. So at the end of the day, Dennis, we need to be honest with ourselves. I understand people want to support George Weah, but support him for the superstar he is. Don't support him as our president because he has come there. He has performed miserably. There is no chance for him to pick up, where Madam Sadi left off because they already deteriorated that effort. In terms of the electricity, yeah, we appreciate the CLSG. But does that mean we have the distribution capability? No. I don't even think we have the transmission capability to get it to the people. So yes, the CLSG is here, but let's see how it gets into the homes of people. Let's see the needle move in terms of people with access to electricity from that 27% or whatever it is to 50, 60%.
Thank you.
So let's not follow these lies and these promises. We wait, we document, he's on record. Listen what he said, our piece on record for Emerson. He's on record for these promises and commitments that he said he made to him. Let's see how they translate into reality. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Duopu, you're closing, sir. You are muted.
Thank you very much for the invitation, the kind invitation you extended me. And I want to also thank my fellow panelists, for this very, feisty engagement. It's a pleasure meeting some of you for the very first time. Dr. Golafale, Mr. Gaiman, Mr. Padmo, Glenn and I come a long way. We've had our own little, testy relationship, but it's all good. And Mr. Vatukba, when he served as chairman of CDC USA, I was one of, the guys who was always keeping his feet to the fire. I hope that we were not delusional at the time, and we are still not delusional. But I come to this discussion, as a political scientist, as a practitioner, and also a theoretician in politics. And leadership, there's cost associated with leadership. It's not, cheap. When we elect people, we give them all the accolades, we give them everything they want, hoping that they will provide, that leadership that we all look forward to. And leadership too is in this new political mantra of leadership is based on a shared power arrangement. Like I was saying, but the opposition, they themselves too are leaders in their own right. We got leaders in different sectors, different fiefdoms, different arrangements. And these people have a stake in the body politic. And they have to present themselves to the people because they are aspiring for the people's, approbation to lead them. So they have a stake. And the next thing I want to say is I think the president's speech was very authentic. He was very animated. He was very organic. He had a lot of things in mind. It was multi-pronged. The first thing was he was trying to give a report of his long stay away, because that was disconcerting a lot of people. People were feeling antsy a protracted period of time. So he was trying to give the Liberian people, that a report card. I went here, I went abroad. These are the goodies I've brought to you. And the other part of the speech was also a position, is a line in the sand to the opposition. Yeah. Look, we know that election commission still doing their arrangement and all the procedure towards election. But I'm prepared right now. I'm ready right now, and you can see that the people are on my side. The people.
Thank you, Mr. Duopu.
Not on your
frozen.
So I embodied aspiration like people. And vernacular, he was speaking directly to Liberian people who make up the large swath of our voting bloc. So we can take a lot of cues from here. We can extrapolate from the speech, and we can make a lot of conjecture and a lot of political dissection. But those were my takeaways. So I want to thank you so much. I look forward to more engagement, and I think my kids been summoning me. So let me go and take care of them. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I want to wish every one of you Merry Christmas and a happy, prosperous New Year.
Thank you. Wish you the same, Mr. Padmo. Let's do it quickly. We want to conclude this before in 5 minutes. Go ahead, sir, Mr. Padmo.
Don't let Mansfield finish talking. Well, I'll be really brief. I'll just speak on. There's a lot of things we've covered. I'll just speak in 3 different aspects. The first one is I'll just make some clarification on what I hear some Liberians bunching in as the goodies the president brought, and then I will speak about just the most disheartening thing I heard from the president and the most encouraging thing I saw today. So the first two things I want to clarify. The first thing is that the president is stating that, and I hear people running around that while in Morocco, he got $50 million from the Hungarian government. The Hungarian government has an embassy in Monrovia. The president didn't have to go to Morocco to secure that. This is the second time that the Hungarian government has given this government $50 million. The first time it was $50 million, 10 scholarships, and an embassy in Monrovia. He didn't have to go to Morocco. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the $165 million that President Biden pointed out for elections, it was for the electoral process. And there are 6 countries. They're not going to divide that money in half. 1, 2, if not all, most of that money will not come to the Liberian government. You have the Carter Center, you have the AU, you have the ECOWAS. They all carry on election observation. Where do you think the money comes from? It comes from the U.S. government. So I wanted to clear those two things because I see people talking as if the American government is about to write us a check. That's not going to happen. If we do not investigate McGill, the United States government is not writing any checks to this government. The high point, the low point, and disheartening point, I saw the president once more make fun of education. When he talked about, I can't rail. Look, I could just stare as a young child, 10, 11 years old, listening to your president make fun of education. It was very disheartening, extremely disheartening. And this president needs to stop doing that. Education is what is going to move Liberia forward. Ignorance is not. The most encouraging thing that I got, the president had to take his supporters, put them in a church to rally them up. This government that I know, the CDC that I know from before 2017 would have been at Anthony Tubman Stadium or SKD, and they would have filled the whole thing up. Now they have to go into a church to do that. Man, people need to open their eyes.
Thank you, Mr. Given. Your closing, sir.
Thank you very much. This is I want to thank Mr. Duopo and Mr. Ava, everybody else, my sister over here, G Talk, Dr. Golofali, Padmore, and obviously to you for keeping such a beautiful platform afloat. Takes a lot, and I would like to appeal to you all when you do your end of the year giving, please consider focus on Liberia. These guys have to keep the lights on. They're here 24/7. We need to build them up. We need to help. So if it's $100, whatever it is, let's do it. I would like to say, first of all, thank you very much for the opportunity. The Monserrato that we knew that you were talking about, that the opposition beat CDC in, that is not the opposition today. So let's clarify that. That was a united front that produced Darius Dillon. That united front no longer exists. Second, Monserrato has never been, I would say, fine or merciful to incumbent. Ellen Johnson Sally will tell you that Monserrato was very cruel to incumbent. So President Weah is holding his own. But I wanted to touch on something that the former Farmer Minister said before he got hurt. He said, what the opposition doesn't see, it is the strategy and the power of the bullet pulpit. He says we got over 127 major projects that will be unveiled and dedicated in the year 2023. He says it is strategically positioned that the opposition will have no space, no room to dominate the media, from the hydro to the road to the universities to the hospitals, you name it. So when you are talking about folks that you say they didn't go to CWA, they went to government school, that's the point. The number one reason and the purpose of any political campaign is to define your opposition. We have defined you as the elite and the elitists versus the common people. So we are saying better boss seller, lax seller, or marketeer, you are against CWA. And today, Mr. Azif Fatukpa with a CWA product, and Mr. Padmore, another CWA product, supporting Cummins, another CWA product. So we are glad to make that, fight. We will make that fight, and we will define Cummins, and we have defined him already. I don't think he can get out of this straitjacket. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think that the emphasis should be on running the country and not defining people.
Oh, that's the politics.
Dr. Gulafale,
yeah, Mr. Ja, it's been a pleasure to be part of this forum with these great people, great minds, and that's what our democracy should call for, where we come and exchange ideas, and we agree, we disagree. But I want to thank all of the panelists here. This Glendy, right? Hope I got it right. Mr. Padmo, Mr. Dupor, Mr. Vatuba, and Mr. Gaben. We look forward to talking these more as elections year come, and I hope we'll have this kind of conversation to help. The key thing is our leaders. What I want to say. I want to take a quote from James Comet's book, A Higher Loyalty, Truth, Lies, and Leadership. These honest leaders have the ability to shape a culture. They control their people. They expose them to dishonesty, corruption, and deception. That is the kind of thing that dishonesty does to a country. It shapes the culture. And we have to learn. We have to know that political leadership, we need sound political leadership by subscribing to truth telling. We can't lie our way through everything. I want to know where which society has subscribed to lies and they prosper. I want to know that. Until then, thank you. And I look forward to our future discussions. And God bless the Liberian people. And thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Let's go to Glendy, Juniors, G-Talk. You have the last word. And by the way, put in a plug for G-Talk.
So I wanted to read something the president said. That's where I want to start from. He said, incidentally, I wish to inform you that all direct expenses, including accommodation for me and my delegation, as well as the provision of an aircraft to take me from Liberia to Morocco and from Morocco to Egypt, were provided as a courtesy by the organizers of the MEDAYS International Forum. I and my delegation did not pay a dime to these countries. I can only hope that this speech that the president has given, that he stands by it, that it is accurate. We are talking about honesty. We hope that he's honest. The thing about Liberia, when you pull rope will pull push. Every day saying Liberia has some truth to it. So we can only hope that President Weah was truthful in his speech, and that those we're also going to be looking forward in the coming days to some of the tangibles and the deliverables and the commitments to ensure that these things were actually promised. We're looking forward to it. As far as the speech today, it was I keep hearing Dobu saying it was organic. Nothing organic is aimed at people. Was any organic speech or anything that's organic is natural, it comes naturally. But the speech today was so far from being organic because there were targets. Lastly, I think it was wrong for him to make fun of other obese people, because even he himself can tell, if you look at the BMI scale, he could also be considered as obese, just speaking from my nursing background. So I think it was wrong for him to
How do you know a BMI score?
I'm just saying, looking at him and looking at his height and Weah had got before himself, he also can be considered as an obese person. So we have to be careful so that we do not alienate, especially our children, because they can also be watching. There's nothing wrong with somebody having a pot belly. we're all the same. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I've really enjoyed talking to everybody and meeting the famous Mr. Gayman. Oh my God, he drives me crazy on Sunday, but that's okay.
Thank you. This Wednesday, please join me. I'll be hosting this gospel artist, Ivan
Sure.
P. He's launching his new EP on New Year's Day. So I'll be interviewing, we'll be talking about his songs, and he can really sing. You want to be a part of this, please join. Glendy and the rest of the gentlemen here, I want to say thank you so much for taking up your time so that we can discuss the president's speech. Dr. Famula once said it is better for us to talk because our mouth not gone. So let's keep talking about our country and don't make that mistake again to go to war or be at each other's throat. It's always my pleasure to talk to all of you and as we discuss our country. On that note, we're going to end with our song that says we are all Liberians, and that's a true statement. Whether you are for Mr. Cummings, Councillor Gonglo, Mr. Weah, or Dr. Weah, or you are for Mr. Boaka, we are all Liberians. What is incumbent upon all of us is to do our very best to make our country the glorious land of liberty. Have a good night and God bless you. We are all Liberians, folks.
We are Liberians.
I'm having some.
We are Liberians. We are